You know what I'm going to forget to do? I'm going to forget to show you the one step in this process, which was the reason I made the video in the first place. So enjoy this tutorial. Before we get into this video tutorial, I just wanted to show you a different way to make the Sideshow dress. The Sideshow dress is a tutorial I made a couple of weeks ago, and it's based off of an old tutorial I used to sell through Etsy. I had a PDF instruction pamphlet for it. I still have it somewhere. I should find it. But I wanted to show you how to make it, but then I also made a dress length, not just a shirt. So here's the dress, but it had ties on the back, but I forgot to show you how to make the ties. So enjoy. Welcome back to my nightmare. Now, fun things that we're learning today. I usually, for my DIYs, set my lighting a little bit closer in to really brighten up the space. But honestly, I put the lights higher and I'm looking at how my fingers are reflected and they're looking much brighter. So we're going to hope that this helps when I'm doing my tutorials. So we'll see how this goes. I've got a collection of men's button-ups. I'm so sorry about the gendered language. It seems like it's a habit I can't break. So what I'd like to do is might make 2 of these dresses just because I think it could be neat and kind of fun to have 2 nap dresses. And I'm going to try, I think, and change it up a little bit from the original way that I did this dress. But not too much. You're still going to get the experience, I think. So I'm starting with 1. You got to make sure that this one's going to fit you well. You don't want it to be, gosh, how do I say this? You want to be able to pull it on over your head without needing the buttons, because we are going to sew the placket closed part of the way. So you want to be able to slip this over your head without too much struggle. But at the same time, if you want to make it a little more fitted, I'm going to put some darts in it. That's something I'm going to do. And that's okay as well. We just need to make sure you can fit it over your head, essentially. So like loose, but loose that fits you. If you're using a t-shirt, you want to use one that, again, fits you. And I've done this many times with t-shirts and with, oh, that's a bad button, and button-ups and with t-shirts. So it does work. I like men's / unisex t-shirts as well, because they tend to be a heavier cotton. And when they're a heavier cotton or a more weighted cotton, or jersey, they tend to have more structure, so you can get away with sewing more onto it. If you use a very thin shirt, the problem with that is that it's going to pull, and that's just not going to be kind of what you want. Now, like before, with the Sideshow dress, we're going to cut kind of a U shape. I've marked here, this is where I would like it to hit, and I just want to make a gentle curve so it comes up. I'm going to take this out, but I'm just going to remember that I pinched about 1.5 inches in for a dart. But I am going to make sure that I know that that is the line on which I wanted the dart. So he goes, that pin goes to live there. Make sure it's smooth. And then fold it in half. You'll notice I'm not ironing any of my shirts today. That's because I'm a heathen. You're supposed to iron fabric that you want to work with, but this dress is going to be loose and flowing and fitted, like not fitted. So it's okay if it's a little bit, how you say, wrinkled. Because it's not really going to matter much. No one's going to notice if the hem is slightly uneven. And honestly, it's not really going to matter. So it's okay if some of these shirts have been in my stash for just a little bit too long. So I'm going to make a little mark here. And just like with the other dress, I'm going to bring it up just a little bit and then curve back down and then find the mark. Maybe even come up a little bit more like that. I just think it gives a quirkiness to the silhouette. So this is the top shirt. This is what we're going to use as the top. I've removed all of the pockets on all of the shirts just because they tend to hit me kind of funny. And I'm cutting straight through. Now, what I am going to do after I mark out my darts is I am probably going to have a second ruffle on this one, which I've never done before. I've only ever done one ruffle. So that's a thing that's probably going to happen. So we're going to reserve this. We want to reserve this piece of fabric. I don't usually like to measure. You know that. I know that. I'm not a measurer. But for all that I'm not a measurer and find the concept usually absolutely abhorrent, I do want to know that this is going to be the same on both sides. So this line here from the placket is 4 inches. 4.5 inches. All right, let's go from the sides actually. Hold on. We're going to do this from the sides because I always forget what I've done when I've told you to do it by the time I've told you to do it. So from the side, we've got 8 inches in. From the side, we've got 8 inches in. So that's going to bring us here, and I'm going to put a, oh no, here, measure about 8 inches in. We go about 8 inches in, and it's going to be right kind of on that line. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, you're the only one who's going to see this up close and personal, not I. So then I'm going to flip it inside out very carefully so that I can maintain where my little pins are, because those are going to be my dart lines. I am just taking this in slightly in the front just because I can. You don't have to do this. Most of the time, I don't do this. But then I get comments like, why is your dress so shapeless and don't you want to show your figure? Well, no, I actually don't want to show my figure. But if you're going to be a jerk about it, I'll put some darts in there just to make you feel better. I'm sorry, was that aggressive and uncomfortable? I can't tell all the time. So here's my line. I'm just gonna make a mark here so that I know where my line should be. And I'm going about 4 inches up. From there, I know I want to take in about 1.5 inches. I'm bad at math, which puts me at right here. So this big line here. There, now it's even. 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. In my brain, like, I know what line it's supposed to be, but then I go to do it and it's like, oh crap, I forgot. I forgot what 1.5 inches looks like. 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. There we go. So when I fold that, I'm only taking it in a little bit. Now we can remove our pins from the other side because you don't want to try to sew them, let me tell you. And I got this tool in a kit that I was forced to buy when I went to art school. I never once used it in art school. I'm not actually sure what it's for, but I use it a lot when I sew, that's for sure. So I'm just coming in and I'm connecting the line using this clear tool that I'm probably using incorrectly, but I just want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So, and then I do my darts absolutely incorrectly. And I just kind of pinch them. I don't know how other people are supposed to do darts, but I kind of almost sew them in with the pin. So like I'm just taking that, making sure the lines meet up, and then putting the pin in and laying it flat. Could also be fun if you felt like doing a pleat. That could be fun. So I'm just making sure that that's all flat and even. And I'm going to do the other one as well. Same kind of thing. I'm just starting at the pointy end. I'm threading it through, finding the line, threading it back through. Just making sure that they line up on both sides for the most part. And when you sew those down, I would actually also recommend going in and doing like stitching, like stay stitching this down into place as well. It'll just make your, like, you're just going to do a basic stitch across the button placket to hold it still. Because when you go to attach the skirt, it's just going to be a lot better. Yeah. And then, so after you stitch that down, try it on, make sure you like how it looks. So yeah, once you got that down, stitch it down, Make sure you like how it looks. Make sure you can still pull it over your head, and then come back for the next part. So the other part that we need to do while we're assembling these is we need to come up with a skirt. If you watched my tutorial for the other sideshow dress, what we did was we only used 2 shirts. So we had the base shirt, and then the skirt of the base shirt was made out of the base shirt and the extra shirt that we had. So you only use 2 shirts. This is going to use 2 bottom shirts along with your base shirt as well. So now that we've got the top being the base, the top being worked on, we need 2 skirts, right? So I've chosen these to go with my lovely plaid shirt. And I picked this because there's just an awful lot of real estate to it, and it's itchy. So I don't really want to wear it close to my body, but if I put it in a skirt, I'll probably like it better. Could be really neat to keep the panels. So keep this panel with the buttons could be cool. I think these buttons are really neat, and I might want to use them on a better project. So I might end up taking them off. Or at the very least, still top stitching it down so I don't have to worry about any accidental openings. So here's the skirt, part 1. And I want them to be the same length. Like I want them to be the same length. And typically what you can do is you can leave the hem, and the hem would just give you like a shirty, wavy, trippy kind of vibe. I'm probably going to cut this hem off and make a ruffle. Like there's probably going to be an extra bit of length to tie all of the colors together. So for me, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to cut it, but then I don't know if I'm going to show you how to sew it together. So I'm just putting this second shirt, which is the other part of the skirt, so that I can see where it falls. I bought this because my friend Amy and I were going to cosplay Sherlock and John from the show Sherlock, and I needed a purple shirt, but then we kind of never did, sort of. I never got around to the Sherlock part, I think, is the problem. Amy's a good friend. I miss you, Amy, wherever you are. Come back. Her blog is still up, I think. It's Grave Robber Girl, but not like the YouTube Grave Robber Girl. Like it was a different one, and her name was Amy. The black shirt is clearly bigger than the purple shirt. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going for like that cottagecore sort of situation that I always talk about and never actually do. So I am gonna cut the hem off of this and save the scraps. 1,000 seamsters cried when I did that. They were like, no, you didn't iron. You don't have to. So then make sure these hems are matching up. And you want the longest piece of fabric that you can possibly get. So you may end up having to lose a little bit out of the sides, but we're keeping that because we're making a ruffle, we're making back ties. Yeah, that's the part I forgot to film. You know, don't throw it away. But you want to make sure that it's going to be, wherever you're going, you have the same amount. So I'm coming in on the purple shirt only. I'm not cutting the second shirt yet. I'm just coming in at an angle, and you can see here, if I flip this over, you can see that there's this double paneled side here. That's where I'm stopping, because when I go to gather that, if I tried to gather through that much fabric, it would be weird. So I'm stopping there, and I'm cutting straight across. And again, keeping the buttons could be a really cool design element. Oh, I did that crooked. Oh well. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. It'll be fine. This is why I don't do tutorials. So I have to fix that. That's got to come off. Just a little bit. That was my fault. My bad. There we go. But okay, same length though. So we know this is where we're going to stop. You could sew this placket down and keep the buttons, and that could look really neat. I might actually do that. Sounds easy. Oh. And I'm just renegade cutting. Oh, I'm not renegade cutting, and I'm just cutting. If perfection is the way that you try these things, this is not your channel. I'm sorry. Okay. You know, you can make a mask with this. You can make a lot. But okay, so we have the purple parts cut out, right? So now we're just trying to make as wide a possible shirt. I mean, it really is ugly sewing at its best, but in an ideal world, that would have been a straighter cut. It wasn't, because I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to this kind of thing. So that's going to get cut off. And this, in theory, should be enough fabric to make a skirt. It should be double what your top is. A ruffle is double the amount of the fabric that you're sewing it to. So if you want a gathered skirt, what in theory it would be is it would be you doubling that fabric. We have 2 shirts. We've now doubled the fabric of our first shirt. However, I think it's weird when there's not like some little hint of the thing that you've sewn it on top of. So we may do some things, okay? For instance, here's the bottom of our top shirt, right? So what we can do, if we wanted to incorporate part of that, first off, I'm definitely cutting the buttons off the button placket because I might need those later. And this is definitely a project that works well if you have a surplus of shirts. I am going through a dapper phase where I want to have dapper shirts, but dapper shirts are not kind of cut for my body type. So what am I doing? I'm taking all the ones that I thrifted that I couldn't try on, and I'm just using what I have. So I'm going to add some racing stripes using leftover fabric, and I still want some of this fabric left for a ruffle as well, because I want to put a bottom ruffle on. So we're just going to cut what we need. That's going to be really cool, I think. And I think I want this side is a little bit wider, so I'm going to actually make this the top. What I'm going to do, we have to pin all of this right sides together. So right side, take away everything but your first piece, right? This is going to be the front. I want this to be in front. When I sew this down, or when I sew all of this together, I will probably sew this button placket closed, but I'm going to keep it because I like it. So this is the front, and I'm going to put my 2 racing stripes on these sides. So I'm going to pin right sides together, pin right sides together, right? Bear with me. This is the most pins I've ever used on anything. So just pinning them loosely because you know me, I don't pin crap. And you'll see, because I didn't pin perfectly, my racing stripe is slightly longer. It's okay. You can even out the hem after you've sewn it all together. So that's all pinned, right? Okay, cool. Next part. So this purple piece, right? This is going to be the back. We're going to do the sides. And again, when I sew this, I'm probably going to sew all of this down. So I will top stitch these button plackets closed. So we're going to put this down. You're looking at the wrong side, but I'm pinning the right sides of my racing stripes to the right sides of the black panel. I'm giving some heavy consideration to doing some podcast style things soon. Let me know what you think of my voice. Do you find my voice soothing? I don't think you do. I don't find my voice soothing at all. But hey, if I'm the person on your playlist that you listen to as you fall asleep, let me know. So there we go. We have our tube of fabric all pinned together. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew all of these sides together where we've pinned, obviously. And then I'm going to run 2 gathering stitches across the whole top. That way when we go to gather the skirt and place it onto the top, it gathers evenly. Sometimes I only do 1 gathering stitch, but then if your thread breaks, you're effed. So 2 gathering stitches is usually a good bet. Okay. One of the fun things that I'm doing now, which is different from the original, is I am doing a ruffle. So to do the ruffle, we're just going to do the same thing that we did for the skirt. We're just making a long tube and gathering it. It just needs to be double what we had. And it's going to be a little straighter because this is where our hem is going. So I'm cutting a rectangular piece that I'm going to use as kind of a guide. Goodness. Actually, it's already pretty straight. And then we're going to go. Now, I do still have to hem the shirts. Good Lord. I do still have to hem the shirts. So I'm trying to make this as straight as possible so that it's not too wonky when we sew. And yes, you could be like, yes, Avery, wouldn't that have been easier if you had actually like measured? And I shut up. It would have been, but who cares what you think? If you actually measured or ironed your fabric or done anything like a good person, you know, the thing about sewing is you make it up as you go along. The only reason there are quote unquote rules is because someone thinks they made it up better than you did. They didn't. They're still making it up. All right. First piece down. Excuse me as I clear my throat. Oh, I did have that. Oh, well. So the thing that I want to incorporate is some of this leftover fabric from the sleeve. Sorry, I found another button to harvest. When I sew, I try to keep as much of it as possible. That's the other thing. So like if I notice a button coming off and I want it, that's what I get. Like I take the button. And it'll be interesting because the one sleeve was short. Like the black shirt had short sleeves. So I don't know that I'm going to have enough to do a ruffle, but I'm going to try really hard. If it doesn't work, I'll let you know. All right, so we're laying that sleeve flat. I can do it that way. If I do it that way, it's on the bias though. I think I get more fabric if I do it this way. All right, so I'm literally just going to use this as a, and I do save my scraps. I just need you to know, probably to a fault, I save my scraps. Because like I said, you could make a mask, you could make hair bows. I've done hair bows. If you're a toy maker at all, you can make dolls. So there's one of the parts of the ruffle. So do this until you have double the fabric of your skirt, and then do the same thing where you sew all the sides together and then run a gathering stitch. I forgot to show you how to attach the ruffle, like the skirt and the ruffle. But in my defense, what I meant to do was tell you exactly what I'm about to tell you now, which is I did show pinning the ruffle on so many other tutorials. So the first Sideshow dress, it was a shirt, actually, the Sideshow shirt tutorial, that has the ruffle attaching like the skirt part. There are other ruffled dresses that I've made that I'm pretty sure I've put the how to attach the skirt on. It's the same principle every time. You're just going to put the gathering stitch and then basically just cinch it until it's tight enough to fit against the bodice and pin it and sew it. But I'll link those down below. So sorry about that. That was like the most incomplete tutorial ever. But on the plus side, that means we get to skip, now that we've watched that 20-minute nightmare, to what it actually looks like. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. My mom is in love with this, as am I. And I've had a couple of people ask for the tutorial, which is why you're getting this and not another Philly haul video. It's very comfortable. It's good for taking naps, which is why I call it a nap dress. And I just feel kind of like a princess when I wear it. It also looks stellar with a harness if you want to punk it up just a little bit. And it's very easy, very friendly for beginners. So, if you like this video, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing it with a friend, and I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself.